So when you see here, we have totally 6 knowledge areas: business analysis, planning and monitoring. The second one is illustration collaboration. Third one, requirements lifecycle management. Fourth one, strategy analysis. Fifth one, requirements analysis and design definition. And the sixth one is solution evaluation. Here now we are going to discuss about requirements analysis and design definition, how we can apply this knowledge area onto Pathvista case study. This is what we are going to discuss now. Okay, and requirements analysis and design definition has let me say 6 tasks. Those 6 tasks are: we have to specify and model the requirements, next we have to verify the requirements, next we have to validate the requirements, now next we have to define requirements architecture, then we have to define design options, then we have to analyze potential value and recommend solutions. So what we have to do here, let us try to apply it. And then specify and model requirements. Now specify and model requirements. Okay, in that what are the, as we know that requirements and designs, if you say requirement, it includes both requirements and designs. We understood about this requirements and designs like to that. And then we will be seeing inputs. Illustration results began with illustration input from the stakeholders, may be iterative, sequential or concurrently. Okay, that is there. And next, model requirements.
Hello?
Right.
Sorry.
Right.
Sorry, your voice is not audible.
Okay, my voice is not.
Oh, it's no.
Now?
No.
Now it's okay, or you want me to fine tune it?
It's okay now.
It's okay? Okay.
No, it's okay. Thank you.
Now, model requirements. Now, model requirements means here the requirements, this is exactly what we have to actually work on it. Okay. So from this, what are the requirements? Now we can model the requirements in matrices and diagrams. Okay, they have given the format. We can model requirements either through matrices and diagrams. If it is diagrams, we can use case diagrams and activity diagrams. Okay, so let me just go through this. Okay, this is like specify and model requirements. The first element is model the requirements. Okay, so here model the requirements. Now modeling requirements, we can do it through, okay, either matrices and diagrams. Okay, this we can make it into matrices, or we can go with diagrams. Now here, and we can model categories including like people, roles, rational activity flow, capability, data representation, that we have to do it. Now let us try to model the requirements for this case study. So when we look into this case study, the first one is, okay, to bring you clarity, let me go with use case diagram. Now use case diagram may we have to identify the actors and the actions. Okay, now actors and actions may, here actors, let me identify the actors first. Let me come up with the list of actors and what they do with the system. Let us try to identify it. Then based on it, here I have given you the actors list. So here we got these actors here. Okay, the first actor, let us consider from this hierarchy. Okay, let me take the client HR. Okay, client HR. What is the client HR will do? Will release the JD. And the client technical team, what they do? They will conduct interviews. Okay, now client HR not only releases JD, they will like coordinate. Okay, what they will be doing? They will be coordinating with our Pathvista HR as well. Okay, and what else they will be doing it? Possibly they will be coordinate with even the technical team. Okay, and the technical team, if you see, they coordinate with the company's HR. Okay, now the next, just I'm trying to tell you next, who is this? The recruiter. Now recruiter, what he does? Recruiter, first of all, he will understand the job description allotted, and then he will search for suitable profiles from job portals, and he may also do some headhunting. Headhunting means call known sources for this resume, and they may talk to candidates. And what else they'll be doing? They'll be like mapping the candidates to the JD and submit, and they coordinate with the candidates for interview scheduling. Okay, they'll not only coordinate with the candidates, they'll also coordinate with the company HR as well for interview scheduling, and take feedback from the candidates and the company HR after the interview. Okay, like the recruiters, what they are doing, this is a use case diagram, and each statement what we are writing will become a use case for you, right? And then the accounts officer, what an account officer will be doing. Okay, now account officer, what they actually do. Account officer, let me say, account officer, first of all, will have access to timesheets filled by recruiters, right? And then we'll have access to timesheets from timesheets. He prepares, what he prepares? Invoices for the clients, and send invoices to clients, possibly track the payments, track the payments done by the clients. Do follow up on client payments. Okay, so these things, these people may be doing it, right? So this is like a use case diagram. We will be like, this is a use case diagram. Hope you know how to draw a use case diagram. Okay, so a use case diagram, we can draw it in this way, and then after that use case diagram, we can go with right, I'm going to draw activity diagrams. I'm going to draw activity diagrams. Activity diagrams I can draw for, let me say, for a recruiter, what he will be doing, one activity diagram, and for an accounts officer, what he is doing, an activity diagram. Likewise, I can draw activity diagrams for the recruiter and for accounts officer, and I can even draw an activity diagram for the process of timesheet management. Timesheet management, I can draw one activity diagram. Likewise, we have to draw activity diagrams for the recruiters, accounts officers, and the timesheets. And in case if you want, you can even go with flowcharts. Even go with flowcharts. In flowcharts, we can model the entire process end to end. You can model the entire process end to end. We can draw it. That to get a clarity of what is the requirement, you have to draw these diagrams here. Modeling the requirements means we have to draw the diagrams here, like use case diagrams, activity diagrams. Based on this, I've just identified few. Okay, I want you to go through it and understand it. Okay, got it? Clear on this? So this I'll upload it in the same folder. I'll upload it. This I want you to refer to it, and then I want you to draw it. Then only you will come to know what exactly you're trying to do here. Okay. And the next point is we have to verify the requirements. We have to verify the requirements. Now let us see what we can do in verifying the requirements. So we have modeled the requirements, we have drawn it, we got an idea about what is modeling the requirements. Next is after modeling, we have to analyze the requirements. Is there? Let me just, okay. The next point here is analyze the requirements. After modeling, we have to analyze the requirements. Process of decomposing information into smaller pieces to understand and to address. Analyze the requirements, we have to do it. Any changes to meet the business needs, what should stay the same to meet the business needs, what is missing to me. Now this is the requirements. That means we have to write in each of these areas what can be the case, constraints and assumptions that impact the business needs. So we have to even come up with here, once this is done. Okay, once this is done, we have to analyze the requirements. For analyzing the requirements, okay, for analyzing the requirements, that means suppose, let me say, to generate, for example, if you want to generate an invoice, for that what goes in there, what are the inputs that goes in there, we have to understand it. So we have to write out each one point there for analyzing the requirements. After analyzing the requirements, we are going to represent requirements and their attributes. Like let me say, like what is the, show the characteristics of the requirements and how it is being done. Okay, requirements may differ based on the stakeholders' typical viewpoints of the, right, that is what I've been saying here. After analyzing, what we have to do, we have to represent requirements and attributes as well. Here you have to come up with requirements, attributes, we have to come up with that. Okay, so requirements, attributes, like from where it has come from. Okay, what is the characteristics of it, this we have to write it here. Okay, and then represents requirements and attributes, then we will be going up with implement the appropriate levels of the abstraction. Now all this we have been seeing that till what extent this information is useful for the concerning stakeholders. We have to identify it. Okay, abstraction levels, we have to immediately, it will be the abstraction levels. Right from the beginning we are discussing about the abstractions levels, to like which stakeholder will have access to what extent, that is being modeled here. Okay, we have to write it here. So these are the elements of specified model requirements, right? These three I've done the first one. The second three you have to go through it and understand and do it. And let us go for this verify requirements. Okay, now verify requirements means, here we'll see what is there in the verify requirements. Now we have to come up with the characteristics of requirements and designs quality. Let me say verify requirements may. Okay, we have to see the characteristics of requirements and designs quality. That means each requirement, whether it is a characteristics of each requirement, we have to come up with that. Okay, so that would be like whether it is atomic, complete, consistent, concise, feasible, ambiguous, unambiguous. So we have to go through this. Totally we have 9 parameters here. So these 9 characteristics we have to understand these 9 characteristics. Here they're given as 9 numbers. So you have to verify each and every number and then say this is requirement is good to go ahead with. Okay, and then after that we will go with the verification activities. Once we will go with these 9 numbers characteristics, like and parallel to it, we can have this smart. Generally we will be doing it like each one we have to say whether it is atomic, whether it is complete, whether it is consistent, and whether it is conscience, feasibility, unambiguous, testable, prioritized, understandable. Likewise we have to go it. And after that what we will be doing is that we will be going with the verification activities. Next what we have to do, we have to go to the verification activities. In the verification part what we try to do is that now whether this requirement is in line with the standards of the company, the compliances of the any governing body is there, then the compliances are it, is it with the compliances. Okay, and then okay, we have to check number 1, the business goals and objectives, is it in line with that. Number 2, we have to check whether it is in line with the company's policies, and can we use this requirement with so and so with the given tools or not. That we have to actually, is this requirement, can we do it in this particular environment or not, we have to understand it. Okay, so that is a verification process which we have to do it. So verification process may, what we have to actually see is that our company policies, next compliances, current infrastructure, like the existing tools, with the existing tools can we take it forward or not, that we will be seeing it. And also we will verify that requirement to requirement they are consistent or not. Okay, they are consistent or not, we have to understand it. And we should also see that okay, all this they do it with the same vocabulary cannot change. Okay, we have to use the same vocabulary. Okay, you can't change the vocabulary, we have to use it the same vocabulary. Okay, and this is the verifying activity what we have to do it. And after verifying it, the next one is the checklist. So we have to see whether we have this checklist or not. Now checklist means it's like what this checklist, we have to have a checklist like whether we have for the requirement is in line with this let me say business goals and business requirements. Okay, okay, business objectives. Okay, got it. and that way we have to verify it. And generally we should come up with a checklist, like once we do so and so activity, are we doing in the right way, or that we have to see it. Like did we cover checking this so and so criteria, did we cover checking that so and so criteria, like that we have to see the checklist. Okay, so it's like the governing body rules or regulations have checked, company policies have been checked, compliances have been checked, and the present tools are supporting it, that is checked. And people are understanding it, like people, once it's shared, people will understand it. Like you will check, we will have a checklist here. Okay, checkpoints will be there, and based on it we have to write it. Okay, got it. And then we will be validating the requirements. Okay, then validating the requirements may, okay, what we will be having the elements is, okay, number one, we have to identify the assumptions. Okay, now assumptions means like what did we assume here, and list out validated assumptions made, stakeholder responses, customer responses. Okay, and may be difficult to identify root cause. Okay, identify and quantify risk associated with assumptions. Now what assumptions we are going to make here, that we have to see it. Okay, this is with the validate the requirements. The first one is assumptions. We should be understanding what assumptions we are going to list out, all the assumptions which we made. And generally uh, I can tell you few assumptions can be done in this way. Like we will make it inherently, we will be making it in this way, assumptions. Let me go through the case study, and from the case study, what did we assume, we have to just understand it. Okay, now let me say, from this case study, if you just see it, okay, here the assumptions is something like the company, like every we assumed that the recruiter 100% gave his what we say contribution in the given time for that particular JD, that we assumed it. So one of the assumption is that. So you got me, no? Like suppose let me say he worked on a particular JD for a couple of hours. We assume that it is he has done his work in the right way. So that can be one of the assumptions here. Okay, and another assumptions can be like if you go through this case study and understand, we understand that everybody is, we assume that everybody is inputting the right customer name and the right JD. Generally what happens is that if you say let me say that guy is working on java profiles for X company, but he will map that timesheet to Y company, java profiles of Y company, then the problem comes. Okay, so we assume that it is the JD is clearly mentioned, and the work effort is being captured for the same JD and for the same client. So we assume that things. So assumptions in this is that we assume that they are going to do it. Now in case if at all if your assumption is wrong, we should have an alternative flow for it. Let me say by mistake I have uploaded Java, my efforts in timesheet for Java to so and so client, and later on I realized that it is not the client, it is a different client. Then what is that I have to do, how to correct it, what is the process, that they will be seeing. If at all the assumption goes wrong, then it comes as a new requirement there. That is in a use case spec, we will be coming up with alternative flows. So here those things we can actually capture here. Okay, got it, clear on this? So here assumptions made, this can be the cases, like you can see assumptions. Okay, if you want to understand these assumptions, we can write it in this way. Now assumptions may, we assume that the recruiter for the efforts, right? We assume it. Now in case if it goes wrong, what to do, that is a separate story altogether. Okay, and there will be no duplication. There is no duplication of the same efforts. Every effort is unique. That is what we try to say. So these are the some of the assumptions which I can do it here. Okay, and next, define measurable evaluation criteria. Okay, what we have to do, define measurable criteria here. So can you help me out with the measurable criteria here? Okay, let me say 1 hour work. If a recruiter is putting up, then I assume that he should at least map some 4 resumes minimum. Minimum 4 resumes should be mapped there. Some measurable criteria, right? And the recruiter, he should map minimum 4 resumes there. And likewise, if he's coordinating like some criteria, like if you talk to some 10 candidates, each candidate 10 minutes, like it will take 1 hour time. He can talk to one candidate, and he has to convince at least like 2 or 3 candidates. Let me say he has to convince like 3 candidates for this job. Okay, now likewise you have to come up with a measurable. That means let me say one recruiter has sit and he's I worked, he wrote, but there is no work deliverables, there is no measurement available. Then in that case it becomes very tough for us. Okay, so if you talk to 10 candidates, hope you are getting me what I'm trying to tell you here. Likewise we have to come up with the like how we are going to make it up. Here we are going to see it. So define measures for the expected benefit, often define as a part of this. So baseline metrics based on the current state, target metrics based on the future state, based on the based on business objectives and other measures of the success. No, I just gave you some part of it. The rest of it I want you to start working towards it, so that you will get more clarity about it. Fine, got it. And then we have to evaluate alignment with the solution scope. Okay, so evaluate alignment with the solution scope means so what benefit it is going to give to the stakeholder and to the project and to the future state. This is what we have to actually align it, what benefit you are going to get. So are we getting that benefit or not? Okay, so we have to understand like which is more appropriate, which is more important. Based on it we have to see. Okay, so we have to understand this, we have to evaluate, that is the benefits list, we have to write it here. So what is the next one? We have to evaluate alignment with solution scope. Evaluate alignment with solution scope. Now here we have to understand that what are the benefits the organization will get, and the accounts officer will get, and the recruiter will get. So likewise we have to start writing it, and is it in line with the organization goals or not? Likewise we have to understand each requirement, how what value it is going to bring in, what benefits it's going to bring in this solution scope. So we have to understand it from this perspective, and we have to write it here. Okay, then if no benefit is coming out of the particular requirement, then there's no point working on it. So that's why we have to understand it. Okay, and then once we are done with this okay, measurable evaluation criteria, then evaluate with the solution scope is done. Okay, the next one is we will go with the define requirements architecture. Now this is very very important for us. The next one is define requirements architecture. Now in requirements architecture, the first elements is requirements viewpoints and views. Now set of conventions define how requirements are presented and related, provide templates for different stakeholder groups, may include standards and guidelines for model types used, attributes included, and notations and analytical approaches used to identify and relate. No single viewpoint can represent all viewpoints. Each viewpoint use different notations, models, etc. And collection of viewpoints makes an architecture. Okay. Now here you have to understand what exactly each guy is going to do, how that information is being accessed in the next levels. Okay, that we will be seeing it, and then we have to come up with a template architecture basically in the framework how it will happen like that. Okay, now I'll tell you, present requirements viewpoint is like a timesheet management. Okay, if it is in the requirements viewpoints and views, so if you are going with requirements view points and views, if you see presently it is a timesheet management system. Timesheet management system, it is a timesheet management system, right? Here we capture, basically what we do, we capture efforts of the recruiters and raise invoice to the clients. This is what we're trying to do. Okay, and you have to understand about this. This is the present view and viewpoints what we have, and template architectures. Now if you see this template architectures, so template architectures means template architecture now for recruitment, for recruitments. If you see for recruitments, for recruitments architecture is different. Okay, it is not timesheet management. It would be like for a closure, client will pay some 1 month salary or whatever agreed. Okay, so this is now the standard. If you look into the template architecture in the in generic, okay, in generic it would be in this way, but here in our case it is timesheet management system. You got me? So others it will be like more complete, so it is little different. So we need to understand our architecture is different from the standard architectures. And next is completeness. Completeness ensures completeness of the requirements, and like we have to look into the completeness. That means from where it starts, where what is the start, we have to understand what is the start point, what is the end point. So we have to look into the completeness, like we have to come up with, let me say if a JD is given, then when we say that we have completely worked on JD, when we'll close that particular what we say, that particular requirement, when that is closed, we have to note a start point, we have to know an end point. So from the recruiter perspective, from here to here it is done, and from the account officer perspective, from this point to this point is account officer perspective, from the client, from this point to this point, like that we have to know the completeness of this requirements in architecture. Okay, so completeness, if you want to understand about the completeness, let me say if you take a recruiter, for a recruiter, okay, if you consider a recruiter, it is like a, for recruiter, once a JD is assigned till the profiles mapping interview and candidate selected. Till this point, this will be the recruiter will be like, that is what he looks into. And whereas accounts officer, generally he'll see timesheets filled, invoice generated, sent to clients, track payment, till this what accounts manager will be responsible, like. So we have to understand what is that. Okay, so completely if we add each person, then we will come up having the complete user story, that completely that full story will come. Got it? And the next one is we are going to relate and verify. We have to relate and verify requirements relationships. Okay, we have to relate and verify requirements relationships. Relate and verify requirements relationship. Now what is this? I'll tell you. If a recruiter is absent, that impact would be on timesheets. That impact would be on the timesheets, and that impact would be in the invoices as well. So you see, like the impact would move on to the timesheets and invoices, and also the fund release, and also to the salary of the recruiter. Likewise, you have to actually see these relationships between how it actually happens, right? We have to check for the relationships. That is done. And then we have this business analysis information architecture. Okay, business analysis information architecture. Now business analysis information architecture means we will say that initially any requirement we take, we will have, let me say, business requirements, and then we will have stakeholder requirements, and then we will have solution requirements, and solutions requirements will have functional and non-functional, and then we will come up with transition requirements. Okay, and here we model what use case diagrams to get clarity, and we prepare use case specs for more details, and we draw activity diagrams. Okay, and the documents, we are going to prepare BAD document, functional spec, then SRS document. Okay, these documents we will be preparing it and then giving it, and finally we will also see that RTM, in the case if it is the development is in this, we'll go with RTM, requirements traceability matrix, and like we will be going with the project closure documents, and if it is required user manuals, this will be coming into picture. So, and where we are storing it, in some drive we will be uploading it, in some Google Drive we'll be uploading it, and access will be given to all. Okay, so we should understand that. That means if any stakeholder wants to understand the diagram, wants to understand the project, BA related stuff, what they can find is that they will find the requirements classification. Like the requirements classification would be like business requirements, stakeholder requirements, solution requirements, functional, and models. Like even I can even add here prototypes as well in case if they want it. I can even go with okay, prototypes. I can even go with prototypes as well, so that it becomes easy for them to understand it. Likewise, and the documents they can expect from me, like BRD document, functional spec, SRS document, RTM, and a project closure document, user manuals. Likewise, this is all business analysis information. We can store it there, and what in Google Drive we will store it, and that access is given to everyone. Got it? Fine. And then we have it now. Business analysis information architecture, that is done. And now we move on to the define design options. Define design options. Now design options means, for this, how many types of solutions we can come up with. How many types of solutions we can actually come up with it, that we have to come up with. Number one, we have to define the solution approaches. What we have to do, we have to define the solution approaches. Now when we are defining the solution approaches, I have various options. Like I can tell, um, you can go with buying like a software, buying a timesheet management software. Number two, because a timesheet management software may have this, and then we may go with developing our own software. In case option one is not possible, then we can request for customizations. Okay. Likewise, we will look into what are the various solution options which we have. Okay. Next is identify improvement opportunities. We have to identify opportunities to improve the business may occur during analysis and design. Okay. Increase efficiency, automate, improve access to information, like provides a greater amounts of clear data information. Now when we are doing it, we can get that clarity, what we need, how we need it, all those we can actually look into the opportunities. The other day I've been showing you about the, like if you remember, I told you initially we used to get reports on your tests. It is done in one way. Later on we requested for a different format because we get more clarity about that information. You remember that? So that will happen here. Okay. So example, you can see in COEPD portal, we have exams taken report. Initially that doesn't have any information about the complete exam, only the exam is taken or not, it is there. Later on we added one more report which has more clarity, more details, like exam name, marks scored, this we got it like a retake number, all this we have taken it. So while we are working, we'll be understanding what we can actually work on it, and based on it we can take it forward. All right, got it. So we have to see in that way what are the improvements we can make it up. And then we have this requirements allocation. Then requirements allocation means, okay, here assign the requirements to solution components and realize that now if it is like the first one, you're buying a timesheet, then from the timesheet management system you're buying it, then what are your requirements to what is the timesheet management system is going to give, you will actually allocate the requirements. Okay, you'll start comparing, let me say timesheet management system to our requirements. Okay, likewise we will, or if it is application development, like how many requirements have been met, like that we will be just saying that is requirements allocation. All right, and where it has been achieved, how it is been achieved, how functionalities are achieved, how the functionalities are achieved, we will be understanding it here. We'll map it and we'll do possibly like we may go with some beta testing, understand it, how this happens with this initiative, we'll be doing it. Right, after requirements allocation, okay, then we have to come up with describe design options. That means each option, how it is like we are going to make it up, that we have to see it, we have to describe the design option in this way, it is going, we are going to do in this way. In option 1 we have to work in this way, in option 2 we have to work in this way. Likewise we have to come up with what describe design options. So it's like if it is option 1, how we will work with it. Okay, so what process we are going to do it. So if it is option 2, how we are going to make it up, if it is option 2, how we are going to make it up, then we start comparing, like that we have to understand it. Got it, clear on this? Okay, option 1 what we have to do, option 2 what we have to do, that we are going to make it up. And the next task is analyze potential value and recommend a solution. And the next task is analyze potential value and recommend a solution. In that, if you see, the first one is expected benefits. The first one is expected benefits. Now we have to write down the expected. We have to go with the expected benefits. Okay, now expected benefits with the same thing, we have to go with option 1 2 3. What are the benefits of option 1 2 3? We have to write it. Option 1 benefits, so what is the option 1 benefits, what are the option 2 benefits, and what are the option 3 benefits, we have to write it. Okay, and then once we write this what are the benefits on option 1 option 2 option 3, in these areas we have to write it. And then we have to write the expected costs, we have to write the expected costs. Now expected costs of all the 3, option 1 option 2 option 3, we have to write it here. Okay, and then after expected costs we have to see into, we have to follow all these areas and understand it, and then we have to determine the value. We have to determine the value, Now determine the value means now we have to see cost benefit analysis, like that we have to do it. Among these three we have to do, like let me say, do cost benefit analysis or do comparisons. Cost benefit analysis, or among this or you do comparisons. You have to do comparisons on this. Okay, you have to do comparisons with this three one. Okay, that is what we are going to determine the value. We'll finally come up with once you do it, then assess design options and recommend solutions. Okay, and finally we will be coming up with okay, recommended solution. Here finally we'll be recommending the solution. Which solution is best, we will be recommending it here. Let me say option 3 is more recommended, like that. So after going through this, the entire process, you have to go through it and we have to come up with this. This is what we are going to make it up. Requirements analysis and design definition. Here we are going to understand how we are going to make it up with this 6 tasks. Okay, those six tasks are what? It is specify and model requirements, and then verify requirements, validate requirements, define requirements architecture, define design options, and analyze potential value and recommend the solutions. So this is what we have to do with this. So what I'm trying to do now, I'll upload this into the drive, and please go through it and understand it, and I want you to write a document accordingly. Fine. Tomorrow we'll start the next knowledge area, and any questions you have, you can ask me now.